Right now, parts of Michigan are getting buried in up to 30 inches of snow. Normally, this would not be a big deal at all, but it's literally May, and the storm that's causing this is about to lock us into a strange weather pattern for the rest of the month. It's called the Omega Block, and its effect on temperature, precipitation, and severe weather is substantial. In this video, I'm going to explain what that means for you and what you can do to better prepare for it. What kicks all of this into motion is a pesky low pressure center. This thing is what's responsible for all that heavy snow up around Michigan, but it will soon make the entire Northeast cold and dreary. This is going to last for the remainder of this week and probably even longer than that. Here's a view from a little higher in the atmosphere. Notice the big blob of colder air associated with the storm. You see how it's not really moving? Now, keep that in mind and let's look over here at the West Coast. There's another storm developing with another cold blob attached to it. This one is going to bring chilly temperatures and unsettled weather to California this week. And look at this thing, it's not really moving either. Now, what's really interesting is what's happening in between these two blue blobs. An area of high pressure and warmer temperatures will start building between these two low pressure centers, increasing in intensity over time. So that brings us back to the Omega Block. The reason we call it this is because the pattern will take on a shape that looks like the Greek letter omega. And let me tell you, this Omega Block is going to be a mega block for storms. What's happening here is basically the opposite of what happens in a trough. We are getting warm, stable air traveling northward through the ridge. And if you were to take a three-dimensional look at this phenomenon, it would look like a giant wall in the middle of the US. And this wall in particular is going to be huge. Watch how it stays in this position for days upon days. It just doesn't want to budge. It's pretty much taking a big old nap here in the middle of the US, and there's nothing we can daggone do about it until it decides to skedaddle. And while these events aren't exactly rare, this specific instance of the Omega Block is more intense than usual, so it's probably going to hang around for a little while longer than usual. And since this thing acts like a giant wall, it's going to try its best to block any and all storms from penetrating the central US. But keep in mind, most of our weather here in the US travels from west to east. So the wall will kind of absorb the impact of these storms on the west side and then shield the east from all the moisture. This is going to lead to a lot of the central and eastern US seeing less storms than usual, but it may actually amplify the storm activity along and south of the wall, where some of the residual moisture may try and sneak below or under the block. Ultimately, this thing is going to rock our weather patterns for the foreseeable future. And the three main things that this is going to impact are temperature, precipitation, and severe weather. So let's break each of those things down on a monthly outlook basis. Here's how I think temperatures are going to look for the rest of this month. Our Omega Block is going to keep temperatures below normal on the sides of the country, while much above average temperatures will dominate the central US. The cold air is going to be most pronounced on the East Coast towards the beginning of the month, and it will become more intense on the West Coast as we go into the latter half of the month. But over the next few weeks, places like Montana, North Dakota, and Minnesota will feature extended warmer than average temperatures, so enjoy that while it lasts. Once again, this area of high pressure that's allowing for these warm temperatures to build up will deflect storm systems that are trying to come in from the west. And once again, this will actually keep a lot of that moisture from penetrating the central plains into the Midwest. However, the energy will not just disappear, it will splatter up and down the ridge and slip around the bottom of the Omega Block, bringing several rounds of rain and storms to whoever ends up in the path. And that brings me to the precipitation outlook for May. And this one's pretty simple. It's going to be wetter west of the storm wall and drier to the east. Now, this does not mean that it's not going to rain at all in Pennsylvania and New York, but it will be significantly drier than average. And down here around the bottom of our Omega Block, I do believe it's going to be wetter than average. One of the places highlighted in the elevated precipitation area this May just happens to be a huge chunk of the southern plains, which is a favorite spot for many storm chasers around the US. And I personally believe that this May is going to be a little bit less active than usual as far as severe weather goes, but it's May, and wherever the storms form, they are going to be strong. And that leads us to our storm chaser outlook for May. This map has two purposes. First of all, if you're a concerned resident in this area, hopefully this will let you know where we think the stormiest weather will occur this month. And second, if you are a storm chaser, this is going to give you some guidance as to where you should book your Airbnb for your upcoming chasecation. So the general outlook here is quite similar to the precipitation outlook. Since a lot of the storms will be sliding under the Omega Block, we don't expect a lot of severe weather in the Great Lakes region or the Northeast. Now, does this mean that we're going to have no severe weather up here? Absolutely not. It just means that I think the chances are a little bit lower. Here in the yellow, we expect a slight increase in storminess through May. Same here in the orange, except the storm frequency and intensity might be a little bit more concerning at times as these storm systems start to hit the wall. And then there is the red. This is where I would target if I was a storm chaser this month. And in fact, I am going to be a storm chaser this month. The Ryan Hall y'all team is going to load up and spend a week or two somewhere in this red circle. So I'm giving you an inside look at my target area. We're going to be out here making videos and bringing specialized weather equipment to collect valuable data from severe thunderstorms in the field. Make sure you stay tuned for that and subscribe to the channel because it's going to be very cool. And let's say that you wanted to be a part of this. You want to help us collect valuable weather data that can be used to better the science of meteorology and ultimately save lives through better warning systems. Well, you can actually help us do that from the comfort of your home just by getting a personal weather station. I've got a link at the top of the description which will take you to what I think is the best one on the market, the WeatherFlow Tempest Weather Station. It looks good, it's easy to install, and within moments of opening the box, you've got live weather data from your backyard viewable on your phone from anywhere in the world. As a weather enthusiast since birth, I've had a lot of these things, and this is by far the easiest one to install, and it just looks the best. It doesn't look like a big doomaflachi up there, you know what I'm saying? This thing has built-in lightning detection, pressure sensors, and pretty much anything else you could expect from a weather station, and it logs all of this data very nicely for you on these graphs, which keep up with everything forever. You can go back and look at any of this stuff at any point in the future. And here's the kicker. Not only do you get access to this very useful data for your personal lives, but if you opt in, you can share it with me and the National Weather Service so that we can have a more complex and diverse data set for our weather forecasts. Once again, if you want one of these things, just click the link in the description. It's going to take you to the website, and make sure you use the code SAVE5 at checkout so that you can save 5% on this thing. This code is only going to last through the month of May, so make sure you get it while the getting's good, okay? And that's all the weather that I have for you today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Huge shout out to all of our members, and of course, shout out to everybody that's been going over to our new channel, the Y'all Squad, and subscribing to it. We're almost at 10,000 subscribers, and we're about to post our first video over there. So make sure you subscribe to that one if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.